Beyond the 6 core Friends characters, there were other figures who frequently appeared in the beloved sitcom, and although one of them just vanished at one point, a dark fan theory has emerged that could explain why. The character in question didn't appear in every season of Friends, but their sudden disappearance is still very confusing. They were a major part of the story and felt like an honorary member of the main Friends cast. Still, even one of the best sitcoms of all time had to eventually drop one of its major characters from the lineup with no context. Until a theory I saw recently, I struggled to find a good in-universe explanation. Ben Geller last appeared on Friends Season 8, Episode 12. David Schwimmer as Ross Geller and Cole Sprouse as Ben. Ben Geller appeared in over 20 Friends episodes. He debuted in Season 3 and made his final appearance in Season 8. He was referenced countless other times, even when he wasn't directly involved with a scene. However, Ross Geller's, David Schwimmer, son was unceremoniously cut from the show in 2002. Friends Season 8, Episode 12, the one where Joey dates Rachel, was Ben's final appearance, even though the show continued for another 2 full runs and ended with Season 10 in 2004. The show doesn't explain why Ben stops showing up. Instead, the story simply continues without his direct involvement. Ben was a role shared by various child actors as the sitcom progressed. Originally played by Michael Gunderson in Friends Season 2, the Allen twins, Charles and John, took over playing Ross' son from Season 3 and had their final appearances in Season 5. Cole Sprouse, perhaps the actor most commonly associated with playing Ben, appeared in 7 episodes across Seasons 6, 7, and 8. A dark theory explains why Ross' son stopped appearing. Ross looking shocked as Rachel tells him she's pregnant in Friends. Friends fans have taken it upon themselves to theorize why Ben simply vanished from the show after the one where Joey dates Rachel. The episode gave no sign that it would be Ben's final appearance, and none of the characters acknowledge the fact they'll never see him again. One dark theory suggests Ross lost custody of his son. There's no denying that Ross is a very busy man. However, his professional responsibilities paired with all the time he spends with his friends wouldn't leave much time for fatherhood. So, it's possible that Ben's mother, Carol Will Lick, Jane Sibbert, challenged Ross for sole custody of their son after Schwimmer's character proved himself incapable of making time for him. Ross has many wholesome scenes with Ben, but they are so sporadic and relatively brief that it's entirely possible audiences saw pretty much every second the father and son spent together. Spread out over the entire show, and that really isn't much time. So, Carol and her wife, Susan Bunch, Jessica Hecht, could have decided to challenge Ross' custody agreement and move away. There's also the matter of Ross' evident anger issues. While his outbursts were pretty much always played for laughs, the things that made him so severely fly off the handle were often pretty mild. For instance, the infamous Moist Maker scene in Friends Season 5 shows how scary Ross can be when things don't go his way. This may also have worried Carol. A fan edit of the sandwich-based breakdown exists online that sees the show's laugh track removed and replaced with tense music. It doesn't take much for the scene to take on an entirely new tone, and the laugh track obviously wouldn't be audible to the unfortunate figures at the receiving end of Ross rants. During an interview with GQ, Cole Sprouse jokingly acknowledged his character being killed off in Friends, and even voiced his opinion that Ross was never really the most present father. While it's interesting to hear Sprouse's views on the matter, the context in which he offers the comment is hardly damning evidence. Why Ben really disappeared from Friends? Friends, Ross and Ben Geller. The dark theory of Ross losing custody of his son has arisen solely from Friends fans trying to explain Ben's disappearance after the one where Joey dates Rachel. The show itself never makes any kind of convincing reference to the fact that this is the case, beyond incredibly circumstantial evidence. What's more likely is that Ben essentially became surplus to requirements when it came to the show's storytelling. It can easily be assumed that Ross continues to spend time with his son throughout Friends, but that it's simply not shown on screen. If Ross had lost custody of Ben, this would have been a major plot point and warranted at least a token mention. Ben was a good character and allowed an interesting glimpse into other facets of Ross' life, but the writers had pretty much taken that arc as far as it could go. So, the decision to drop Ben was likely made so that the focus could return more solidly to the main Friends cast as the show began to enter its final phases.